in the world is once you achieve something, once you've learned a lot and you've achieved success and you continue to do things at a high level, the phenomenon is not this laurel resting or this, I've arrived. It is actually the absolute opposite of that. It is abject terror on how do I duplicate it? How do I do it again? How did I get here? You realize in your heart, and because of the experience, you realize the one thing that's true is, yes, your talent helped, but there was extraordinary amount of luck and opportunity and all that, and people around you, and listening and doing all the things that we do every day along that way, along that journey that led to that. It was not you. So the people that actually go, oh, gosh, I wish we could do what he does, or I could, the ones that covet whatever you did, they fail to realize that you don't have that sense. You go, let me tell you the story. I go, all right, I got to the West End from Cedar City. That's insane. All right.
Now, in what textbook did you find that?
Yeah, you don't find that in the textbook. That's insane. So my journey was, we premiered this show, and the reason we did Lend Me a Tenor is we were like, I knew I had a passing relationship with Ken Lockwood, and so I pursued that. When it came time to write a musical, Brad and Andre Carroll and I were writing, and I said, I've always thought Lend Me a Tenor would be a good musical. I'd like to change a lot of it because I don't like that he's cheating on his wife, so I'm going to change that. And the only reason I thought that is because I was playing that in the play version, and my wife was playing my wife, and I felt uncomfortable. I was in real life. So we get this thing. It does really well. We go, it's just, hey, this is going to be great at community theaters. And the only reason we wrote it is that, maybe we'll make a few bucks in community theaters and then, around the town, because people have done the play and so they'll know the musical. This is a no-brainer. Excellent. So then producers start coming to town, and these are all luck. These are all happenstance. This is craziness that people with money in Vegas come in and they go, hey, we want to put, $5 million on this. We want to do this, that, and the other thing. So it's all luck. You're rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. You're doing whatever people are asking you to do and telling you to do. My advice to those who are doing those things is, there's a voice during that time that will say no. Listen to that voice. When you're in your first stages of something where you're experiencing success, don't say yes if you mean no. That's the best advice I think I can give to start. And we all experience that in day-to-day stuff. We'll be in rooms, we'll go, yes, that's a good idea. No, it's not. Why did I say that? I should go and put my head in the toilet. We do those things because we're trying to please, we're trying to do this, let's just get it, let's just move on, because we can't. But sometimes no is a really good. These are polar opposite and important words for a reason. Use it. So there's a few times where I don't really live with regret. I don't think it exists. I think that's human arrogance. I think everything happens exactly the way it should. So here's my illustration of that. We get to the West End, which is ridiculous. And you're standing outside a theater. That is how some of the greatest plays ever. You're on Shaftesbury Avenue, and there's Les Miserables, and there's this huge show, and you're in the middle, and you're in the Gielgud Theater, which is spectacular. I put it on my desktop just so I can always remind myself that what Mount Olympus kind of looked like for me, because I stood outside there for about 90 minutes the first time everything came up, and there's posters, and your name is there, and people are passing by, and it's London. It's the biggest city in the world, and you go, I write a few jokes on the toilet, and look what happens. And I was like, wow, this is, holy cow, fantastic. That's literally my feeling. I go, I wrote a few gags and added it to this thing, and but there was great craft involved. I don't mean to tear that down, but you get there. But no one tells you this. Like, you get there, you craft something really good, and it was critically so well received. But it was a financial failure. It ran for 83 performances. And I sat there and I went, wow, your brain does things to you during that process. You go, I was supposed to be a writer, and now I'm not. I gotta go back to the grind, and you suffer things, and you learn, and you grow, and you go, oh, there was one day where after it was like, it's not gonna be the hit that we all thought. And it's an $11 million production. How people put all this money in it? Wow. But people were standing ovations every single night. I mean, it was a really weird time. And I remember sitting in Trafalgar Square going, oh, you learned how to craft a musical. You learned that at the highest level, and that is what you did. So you're not a failure. And so I came back home, and the minute I set foot back here, I was a hero. It was the damnedest thing. It wasn't until I got back to my peeps to SUU where I couldn't walk anywhere without a hero's welcome. And they invented the trustees scholar, the trustees gift. And I got that. I was the first one to get the board of trustees honor. And scholar of the year, I was the first one in 100 years to get. No one in the College of Performing and Visual Arts ever gotten scholar of the year. No one. Just think it's a problem.
We'll address that the next
we'll talk
time.
about that. And professor there, and then the Kennedy Center thing. And I was like, wow, what a tremendous success. You know, but you've got to go through that. You got to live through that whole journey to come out the other end and go.
You have to realize it is a process.
Yeah. And it's still a learning process. And it's like, and for many years, it was like, I can't climb that mountain again. I can't write. Now I'm writing a new musical. And we opened this summer and for Neil Simon Festival, and here we go again. Well, I don't think it's going to the West End, but you never know.
Right.
You never know.
But did the confidence from the one give you confidence to do it again?
No, it made me say, please don't go through that again for a while. Yeah.
So did you have to listen to that voice?
Yeah, you have to say, stop that. You love doing this. This isn't. Stop translating what you love into financial success, or however you're wrapping that up. It created avenues that you would never have had before. You know, I want to talk about teaching because we want to talk about being a successful professor, which I have no idea about, but I'm going to tell you about things that I have discovered that may help. So I don't know what that means.
That's wonderful.
Love your family. The first part of being successful in anything is get your life in order and love your spouse and your children like you're going to die every day.
Priorities.
Yeah, that's it. Those are your greatest things in your life. Your children. I can look at that picture a million times of that theater. It's not going to be my son or daughter, ever. It won't even compare. It's like, and I mean on their worst day, when I'm changing their diaper, it doesn't compare to that. You know, so that puts everything in perspective. They give you perspective. Look for perspective, I think. I try and look for perspective. So I think as a successful teacher, I try and surround myself with you guys, actually. People who are doing things at the level that you're doing them so they can give you perspective. You got to keep finding, as you grow, you got to keep finding that level and those people, because they'll say, oh, well, there's animosity starting here because you raised the bar too high over here, and they don't like that because they're never going to raise that bar that high. But they think you're arrogant because you've raised the bar. What they don't know is you're actually the complete opposite. You're petrified. You know things that they don't know because you lived things. You know failure at a higher level too. You know this at a higher level. You know luck at a higher level. You know all those intangibles as well. You don't know. I was telling Tony, one of my favorite life coaches right now is Bill Belichick. The very first thing that came out of Bill Belichick's mouth after they won the Super Bowl, which I found astounding, and a great learning thing was, well, I'm 7 weeks behind in next year's working and building. That's the first thing he said after they won the Super Bowl. I went, this guy's insane.
Enjoy. Have your cup of champagne.
He did. He probably enjoyed it for a second, and he went, Oh, good, we won, now we're behind. He only sees the winning in that day, in those days. And tomorrow is another game. I mean, you got to really think like that. You got to think, I won some games, but I can't rest on I'm never a winner. I'm always on the journey. We're trying to teach these kids. Here, this is an interesting thing. I always think about, and I'll come around to this. A great analogy is the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. You're in this enormous room with all this knowledge, and it's just collecting dust, and it means nothing. No one even knows it's there. The beauty of the movie is we're trying to get into that room. We're trying to discover. We're trying to learn about what all those things are inside that room. But the room itself, knowledge, is a dead thing. Our motto is not knowledge lives forever, it's learning lives forever. And I say that every week to myself. I go, learning lives forever. Remind yourself of that. It's not knowledge lives forever, because knowledge doesn't live forever. It's learning. If I try and do anything with students, I try and get them to learn how to learn and not learn how to know.
Right.
If that makes any
Well,
sense.
it's the fish analogy. Give a man a fish, he eats for a teach him the fish.
Yes.
He eats for like
Forever,
Yeah.
right. If you teach them to learn, the knowing will just come. They'll automatically they'll know things on their own. They'll get that. But it's teaching, and that's the hardest thing, I think, teaching how to learn and fail. We were talking about a little bit earlier that you've got to be willing to risk. That's the only good thing about tenure. There's a fearlessness of risking, I think, maybe that we have when we're tenured that we don't when we're not tenured. I didn't have that. I didn't care because I was an actor. So in order to be a successful actor, yeah. Okay, so I'm a successful actor, a really successful regional actor before teaching. I did 300 shows maybe in my life, which is a hell of a lot. Which means I failed about 3,000 times.
And you come into the classroom with both sets of experience.
That's right.
Failure and success.
Yeah.
And you can give them real world examples.
That's right. The thing about what was I just going to say? I was going to say before I went to the failure that teaching them how to. We can't expect them to. Or want them, we say, fail big, fail risk, fail big. If we're not willing to do that, then the only way they're going to learn is by example. Our parents showed us things, and we follow them. Sometimes poor examples, but that's what we follow. We follow those things. I'll give you a great example. Don't be afraid of this, young professors. Don't let this get you down. These are just numbers, and they're bold. The idea evaluations, okay? You're going to do things for assessment. But out of the box teaching and trying new things and risking does not correlate with number assessment. So you're going to have times where you're going to tank those ideas. I'm trying to teach how to be a professional, right? A great professor. I tanked 2 great ideas. I went horribly wrong on 2 1-credit classes just last semester. See, so this is what 11 years of experience buys me. Horrible, because I go, well, I want to find a way, because our schedules are so crazy. I want to teach Dram-Lit, but I want to do components of online, because we're really trying to master this online thing and really get the technological end down. That's how the kids respond. They're responding with the technology.
They're
more advanced.
Not only
they're more advanced
responding,
than we are.
they're putting
They
it
know
out there.
technology. They're doing things that they're reinventing things constantly. And so we've got to start, continue to play that game and learn that game. So I thought, for their schedules, let's have some FaceTime, but let's also, I want to see what happens if we can mix FaceTime with Canvas time and have online, and so they don't have to spend an hour every single week. We can do it 5 days for the semester, and blah blah blah. Well, some people were good at it, some people aren't, And so you're going to get a divide. There are two kinds of archetypes in this world. There's the by the rules, academic, organized. These are students, these are teachers, these are all these people. They have to follow this, they have to do this, they believe you must do this and you must do that. Then there's the creators and the makers and the doers and the dreamers and the color. There's the black and white and there's the color. There's that in the faculty end. So that's what I'm talking about when I say, if you're doing things at a really high level, you're going outside the box. People who are incapable of going outside the box, don't go outside that box. You gotta stay here. You gotta stay in this box. This is my fiefdom. Because I'm getting graded on the box, you're getting graded on out of the box. I don't like that you're doing that, because I can't do that. Yeah. And in fact, the out of the box people are going, I wish I could make that box. I can't make that box. I'm not good at that box. I suck at that box. Yeah. I'm not good. You're great at that. You need to make me that box so I can jump out of it. That's your function, right? So that, and here's the big challenge. Those two are in the classroom. Those are our students. So those budding who we work with are the students. So you go, so when you want to reinvent, the creators and the inventor side, they are going, yes, thank you for freeing us and unlocking the chains. And the other ones are going, I need chains and locking. Yeah. We have to lock this down. I want to be present. I want to know exactly what this is. I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I like the wheel. So you go, oh, that's the challenge of teaching. How do you get to both sides? And I don't know how to do that. I know about trying new things and seeing what sticks and always being ready to reinvent everything you're doing and trying to develop a fearlessness within reason to do that. So I think for me, that's the biggest challenge. And it's all about teaching the learning, not the knowing. Because everyone needs to learn. Both those sides want to learn, and they'll have a desire to learn. And some won't have.
And I think our faculty, need to be just as our students. They want to be able to have opportunities to learn.
Yes.
You haven't gone from one side of the desk to the other side of the desk. Mm-hmm. You still are a learner, and what new learning, come in and share the new learning that you have with your students. Yeah. And like you had mentioned earlier, listen to them. What are you learning that's new that I can learn from you as well?
Like I'm doing, again, it's the job it's a job. Teaching for me is a job. Now for many, and that's great, teaching is their life's work. And I get that. They're developing curriculum, they're teaching, their teaching is the creative end of things. They're actually outside the box.
They're here at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I am the dreamer creator, so the teaching facilitates that for me. A good example is I can teach my students better once we get to a certain point, I think, in the classroom, to get outside the classroom and get them in a professional environment. One of the reasons I created a fellowship for the festivals, to have our kids just do that foundation with the festival, and then they learn so much by just watching, is that they need those next steps. And so recently I stepped into the Neil Simon Festival as their artistic director. This is my first year, and there's 16. There's a couple graduates, but 16 students involved in major roles. So now I've created something for them to step into major roles, not just this spirit carrier thing. So they're doing
real world examples.
Yeah, and I in my world, I can teach them better by them being right next to me, and our sleeves are rolled up, and we are working together. We're reading the scripts, and it's not they're my colleague. My field is you need to be my colleague quickly and start running my race with me.
But you're not lecturing. It's learning by doing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I've taught them already all those fundamental things. So they can come in and I treat them like colleagues. We're family now. I'm not looking at you like I'm actually demanding of you now.
Yeah.
And you've got to come play. When I say, hey, why did you better have an intention back at me when I'm throwing my line to you? You better be next to me. You better be present, or you're gonna.
Right. Just trying for the
You're not gonna like it. It's not about me grading you. You're not gonna grade yourself well. You are actually gonna find there's gonna be a big problem. The audience won't grade you. The reviewers won't grade you.
Right.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You better be with me. So and I think that, and it's not an arrogant thing, but it's like, follow me. Right now. Here we go.
Because we're in the trenches. We're doing it.
Yeah, I think they had that experience.
About a perfect thing.
Yeah. When we did Fiddler on the Roof, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to step in as Teddy, because they could go, oh, and it was perfect. It was really strange. That show in particular was a perfect teaching tool because it was this community learning from the milkman,
Right.
about it was a really interesting dynamic. When I looked back at Tevka, I went, these are my family. These girls are my daughters. They've taught them since they were this big, and so there was a sense of that. It's kind of neat. So, and I think they do. There's that next step kind of real world learning that I wanted to provide, and it also gives me an opportunity to do that and in a small 10-week, as opposed to a whole summer of the festival season. Is like, oh gosh, if you're teaching. Once you get to graduation, it's like, I gotta sleep for about 2 weeks. I don't want to do anything. So I get, the beauty is I've created something in my life where I can take May off and literally decompress and go on vacation with family and then come back to a nice chunk of work, and you get a Park City vacation, which is really cool because you're the Egyptian, and then you get a week off again, and then you're back into the school year. But it's on your own terms, and that's a big thing. The more you teach, because if we don't create our own sabbaticals, we ain't gonna get them. We're just not like that. And they're important. It's important to create time for you.
Well, that goes back to your family.
Yes,
you go first.
Randomizing your batteries, because you are going to get worn out.
It's so
and
important.
your students will see that.
Yes.
So take time to say no.
Yes.
Take time for yourself.
The only way you're going to reinvent your teaching is by sitting there and doing nothing, and it'll strike you. If you're just sitting there going, if you're working, anything you're working at, trying to effort an answer, you're less likely to get the answer. The answer will visit you more readily if you're not looking for it, like anything else. Like love. Love comes when you're not looking. If you're looking for it, oh my gosh, if you're wearing Date Me, you are so not getting a date. You just don't, right? It's the same thing. And luck will strike that way too. Luck is lucky. You can't predict that. You can't work for that. It just it's luck.
Take it and enjoy it.
You gotta
luck
enjoy
comes,
it.
I have to say, I'll take luck any day.
Take it any day and count your blessings. And we're all, I had this colleague once. He would always say, he was like 87. He was a lovely, delightful gentleman, great old yard actor in this theater company I was in. And he goes, I'll see you tomorrow if I'm spared. He would say that every single day, and I go, stop doing that. That's like, he thinks like, but he's right.
Right.
I'll see you tomorrow if I'm spared.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Because you
I literally
got negative or positive.
Yeah.
If I'm spared, I'm going to be here.
That is, so you got to enjoy. You got to find enjoyment in what you're doing. You got to let those. Honestly, I don't care if you're I'm trying to stay in shape. I try and walk, but it has nothing to do with the person driving that car coming towards me.
Exactly.
And something that
who didn't get the
they're texting, and that's it. You know what I mean? And all lives change on those moments.
You mentioned a moment ago about going back to initially what you said about the importance of family and the importance of scheduling time away from work, away from the profession. How do you focus or how do you adjust that? Yes, your specific individual time is so important, but how do you reach out or stay connected with children and grandma and grandpa and wife and all that as well?
Skype is the greatest thing for that. I mean, get your grandmother or your mother an iPad now. if you live away from them. I live 3,000 miles away from my mom. And so my kids, who she loves and they love her, they talk every other day. So get it like that for your grandma. That's one thing. It's the greatest thing. That's why it was invented, for grandmothers and grandfathers, FYI. You have to, nothing is that important that, nothing trumps this. Hey, Dad, can we? And then whatever follows, listen to that. Now, I was very fortunate to have children later. I didn't have a child until I was 40, which also is a good thing, kept me young. It really did. I'm still, I love that I have youthful kids still. Because I have to stay energized
to keep connected with them.
To keep connected. Yeah. And I think and your spouse as well. I mean, I think you have to listen. And I'm saying this because I'm trying to keep teaching myself that. I don't have that mastered. Because there's a lot of things, especially if you're a writer, when you get absorbed in your work, I am a master at tuning out the entire world. Like the world can be revolving around me, explosions, and I will not hear a thing. So that my children are trained to, when they really need me, to touch, to break through the wall.
And turn it to
they have
me.
to because I had children later. I was writing while all kids were throwing stuff, and like my wife would be and they'd be screaming at me, and I do not hear it. I've literally trained myself to do that. I don't know. That's crazy. So I've also trained myself to, when I get tactile something, to respond and go, okay, that means you got to stop that. So learn to stop.
I thought you too, that bringing up that issue of touch, how important that we talked a little bit
Human
earlier,
touch.
how, not just from your children,
Yeah.
but from your students too.
Yes.
Sometimes your students may have to say,
Yeah,
Peter.
that's great. And that's advising is also teaching. For me, I sit down almost with every student invariably at some time, and I've learned to say, what? Instead of assuming they all want the same thing, because it's so easy for us to do that.
Yeah.
Because
they're
chemistry majors.
That's right.
They want to be chemists. I don't know what that means. They're theater majors. They all want to perform. No, they don't.
Some want to be directors.
Some want to be directors. Some want to be teach acting. There's a myriad of stuff. You have no idea until you say, I say to students, what do you want to be? After school, the first day you're free, what is it that you're looking for? And then my job is to align myself with facilitating that in any way I can. If I don't have the answer, I'll find the answer for you. So they all know that from me. If I'm advising them, that is the first thing I'm saying. I'm saying, who are you? Who are you? Here's who I am. Who are you? What do you want? What makes you excited? What do you love? Who are you as a human? I can't work with you until I know who you are as a human.
So that getting to know both ways, getting to know them is so important, your learners, because it really does, in my mind, create a win-win.
Yeah.
You win by knowing them. Yeah. They win by knowing you. Yeah. And it only builds.
We have no idea how powerful walking across campus and the student walking, and you go, hey, Bailey, how you doing today?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen on campuses. We say, we make this our claim to fame, but it truly is. And we don't realize how powerful that is. We don't realize that we can turn around an entire week of woe with that move. It is the damnedest thing, because we keep forgetting these kids are going through things that if we can unplug ourselves and go back to really what we were thinking in college. Okay, I can't say this on camera, but there's a lot of things, there were things that were disturbing us that we didn't know who we quite were. We were formulating things. We were confused. And if we were lucky, I had a gentleman named Tim Ward, who I'll never forget, who was my mentor, who I aspired to be like, who just goes, boo-boo, what can I do for you today? Oh, what do you need? Or just laugh with him, or just, those are the best teaching moments. Those are the best. Everything's about human connection, Tony. You're absolutely right. I mean, we can't ever lose sight of that. We can have all the technology in the world, but when I have found profound change in students by my saying, how you feeling? You don't look, I'm good. And I'll go, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And they'll go, and I'll just complain. I'll go, oh, why do you do that to me? I didn't do that to you. You're doing that to you. I just kind of scratched this little thing, and I'm here. I'm ears, and I'm a shoulder, and go. You need that. So that being attentive to those things, like your family as well, being attentive to when that's happening, and being able to stop what it is you're doing. My thing that I say automatically is, as soon as a student walks in my office, they love to go, oh, I don't mean to bother you. I'm sorry to bother you. I said, you're why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I tell them. I say, you're not bothering me. You outrank this. Go. And they go.
But that's how you become a professional
That's right.
teacher.
That's right.
And you succeed.
You've got to know
Because
that the student outranks all those
why you're
crappy
there.
things you're doing.
So that's who you're serving.
Yes. And you got to get that in mind. And once you get that, I think you're on the right road. It's like having your own children. Everything gets prioritized if you get that. If you go, oh, I'm serving them. Got it. Now I know exactly what to do. I know what jobs to go for. I know what I need to do in order to make a living, in order to make happiness happen. Oh, that's easy. Now I just got to do that.
And there's plenty of students around to be able to reach out and to do.
They're all over the place, and it's more and more complicated every day. I mean, we're in a real complicated world. I mean, we can go off on that. Be attentive to all of it. Be attentive to. Don't shut out anything. Don't shut out.
Well, I'm at Lynn's, and they're poking around in my cart, wanting to know what I'm eating or drinking tonight for.
Oh my
for
gosh,
supper.
they haven't done that yet.
They haven't done that for you?
No.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny. That's really funny.
What is Professor Pellegrini having for dinner
What do you
tonight?
eat?
How do you eat steak? What is this steak in here? How can I afford steak when
Yeah.
I'm the professor?
Yeah.
You know, it's
That's
like you
funny.
have to. It's part of the. So whether, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but whether it's face to face at Lynn's, or whether it's over the iPad with Grandma. Grandma, yes, I love that story, but I can't wait till I can hug you.
Yes.
We can have those intermediate
Yes.
moments that
Yes.
are so important.
Yes. It is about that personal connection, especially here. I think at SU, honestly, it is that way. I think we're like that. The faculty that are really strong are the ones that are kind of together. You can pick up a phone and say, I'm like, yes. What do you need?
And
like,
you did that with
it was a
me.
meeting,
Appreciate
and you
that.
would do the same for me.
Yes.
And we do the same thing for each other. Why not? What is so important? You just gotta, because it'll all come back. It comes back to you. Giving. It's about giving. At the end of the day, it's giving to something, not taking. It's about giving to something. Giving to family gives back things to you. Give to students, it will come back to you. Give. Give it all away. Give it all away. I don't know any other way to be, and I know when I'm taking, and I know what I want, and when I'm fiefdoming, it's not going well.
Yeah.
That's all I know. It's not going well when that's going on. When I'm collecting my cards, and I'm like, look at all the
I'm going around little fight then.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No.
And it's listening to yourself.
Yes.
It's listening again to that voice inside.
Yes.
I feel that you're kind of like a sponge, and we've wrung every little drop out of you.
Oh,
Any
there's
last
still
minute
so much.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Any last minute things that you'd like to share, or Peter is available to you? put him to the
Yeah,
test.
just
Give him a call.
Email me,
Email
call me, come.
and
Yeah,
get back to
and we'll sit down and we'll break bread and we'll figure it out. I do more, if you really want to get to the students, take them to the grind.
Yeah.
I go to the grind. The grind has become my office away from home. AJ loves that because
You bring
he's
business.
making money. But it's like, yeah, I mean, let's go over a cup of coffee over, but you buy them a cup of, I'm always so shocked at how poor students are, and it's like every little thing is, buy them a cup of coffee. It's like $1.89, or buy them a cup, get them all frappe. In fact, if you buy like 3 or 4, you get a free one. So whenever all my I always give the free ones to the students. Yeah, I go, I don't need the free one. They need the free one. So it works out. It's like, but that means something. That translates. That takes a wall down. We're always trying to.
It's the touching.
You want to get the walls down, so they can listen to you. There's so many walls up. They all want the answer immediately. They all want, you know what I mean? It's like immediate.
Yes.
And they don't want the process, but you got to invite them to take the process. And the process means, let's hang out, let's chat. Who are you? What are you? What do you want? What are you doing? Why? How are you going to get that? If you want that, what do you think the best one? My next class of acting 1. Because I always have this conversation about, there's no magic pill. Stop it. I can't give you the pill and you're going to become this actor.
Right.
I'm going to give them a pill. Day 1, I'm going to give them a pill.
Magic pill.
Yeah, and then I'm going to give them the sheet that goes with the pill, which says for the next 10 years you have to read 100 plays. You have to work out every single day. You have to work out your brain. You have to learn the acting technique and do all. And the pill will work.
Yeah. If you
follow all the rules, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like anything else. If you're taking a power bar, you got to exercise, diet, and it tells you all those things. You got to get on the Stairmaster.
The diet pill works.
Yeah.
When you work out.
Exactly. That's the magic pill. So if they want the magic pill, I'm going to give it to them. It's going to be this Taverners London gummy, which is a great magic pill. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce the magic pill. I'm going. Those are fun little teaching things where I go. That's what keeps me awake at night. How to humorously get to them and unlock something in them and have them come along on the journey with you.
It's not a magic pill.
That's right.
And when you can do that through humor, you're
Yes.
going to reach them.
That's it. And again, we talk about technology, but it's important using the technology. I think keeping them on campus. They are very, like I said, there's that other archetype that wants that organization. So learning that as a professor is very important. How to communicate that way, how to open the discussion thread and just say, hey, let's chat. Because you can talk to them all the time through that too, which is really nice. And there's something about that ongoing blogging, whatever. I mean, I'm not getting the terminology of that, but they'll talk to you that way. And so it's like learning what the little breadcrumbs look like to leave for them. So then when they want to come over to your full care, they have a willingness to do so, or you've given them that, the confidence to do that.
And in such an open way, through a discussion board, then other students can see, oh my goodness, I want to have a conversation like that with you.
He's talking like at midnight, yeah, because he's up writing late at night. He's writing, so
he talks back.
there. He'll talk right back. It's like, well, can't do that with Apple. You can't not that late. So you have to make yourself available, and they're going to take as much as you give, and they're going to take more and more. They're going to want more. That is the other side of that. You've got to go. Sunday's day, They know for me Sunday is day off. That's my family's day. Do not contact me then. I am not contacting you. I'm owned by this organization.
The emergency room number is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and they got to know that. Email me, because I'll always glance at that every day. And so if there's something huge, I will definitely get back to that. But, listening. Always listen.
I appreciate you.
Oh,
Jennifer, any other questions you might have? You're comfortable? Let me shut off the recording. Give me just a second here.
So we can
Thank
really
you.
talk about
No, we've really talked. We've really talked.